Knife Show. Gator Cutlery Club Knife Show. Not only is it a knife show and there are multiple knives throughout the building, however, we do also bring handle materials for these knives. For instance, a little bit of elk, a little bit of mastodon ivory. If you want a little more, you can take it off the tusk. We also carry bone that is colored, different colors, some orange, some brown, or some plain white bone. You can also pick up some sheep horn while you're here, which is really nice on a knife. How about a little dark sheep horn, which is really classy on a knife? Or how about some exotic hardwoods, some babinga, some badoka, some ebony, some cocobola, got some birchwood, got some lignum vitae from South Florida down in the Everglades. That's where that comes from. 83 pounds a cubic foot, densest wood in the world. Or you can buy an alligator head once in a while, or anything of the such. And then some of the benefits for doing the show is somebody will bring you a nice homegrown avocado. And that's about all I got to say.
Okay. And, how did you get into knife making?
Long story. I'm an old carpenter, and I went to a custom handmade knife show about 35 years ago and said, "Oh, I can make this stuff." Well, it only took me 4 or 5 years to figure it out. But I had some good mentors too: Frank Senafrani, Alfred Penray, Andy Blackton, to name a few, Dan Rodkey, and the likes. So that's it.
And how did you get into being a purveyor?
I've been a purveyor since I was 6 years old, trading pocket knives with other kids. Boy Scouts.
Are all purveyors knife makers?
German automatic.
You're all collectors, right?
I'm the black sheep of the family because I'm a knife maker and a purveyor. And a lot of makers don't like it for that, but that's too bad. It's still free in America, you know, so far.
Amen to that. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Thanks.
And much thanks to Dan for getting this show together. It's a pretty good turnout considering everything that's happened. And I'm going to talk about some knives that I thought were kind of interesting. Like this one here. This is a huge, I don't know, it looks kind of like a little bit like a bolo or something. Its blade is probably around 8 inches or more. The interesting thing was the lock mechanism. It's sort of a lockback. As you can see in this picture, there's the notch, typical of a lockback, but then there's this lever on the right side that you turn it, in this instance, clockwise, and that way you could lock up the knife or unlock it, and then when you want to put it back in the lock position, you twist the lever counterclockwise, and that hooks on top of the top lock bar. So it's a very sturdy lockup, and furthermore, this long tail on the lever acts like a guard that your index finger fits behind. Now, it's not the greatest guard because it's kind of thin, but it's not all that thin, so it does provide some protection, and it's sort of nicely made. It's got sort of a bead blast finish. And this is a picture of it close up. Now see, the lever has been turned counterclockwise, and it'll lock the knife closed. And it's not the most convenient way to lock and unlock a knife, but you know, here's a picture from the left side. And I thought it was pretty neat. You can see here the The knife is locked up again. The notch is taken up by the latch of the lock bar, and the knife's pretty securely locked. Now, there was a gentleman with a whole bunch of Randall knives, and this is sort of a typical picture of a Randall knife. You can see the logo there. This one is kind of interesting, although it didn't show up pretty well. But the grind line goes up at an angle, and what they had done with this particular knife is they put the logo on that same angle. Now, I understand that they do this at times, but on this particular knife model, they weren't supposed to do this, so this is a mistake. And, you know, mistakes are the ones that's often very collectible. So I asked the guy, I said, did this make the knife extremely valuable? And he said he didn't think so. But I bet something like that will. It's, you know, you got something like a postage stamp where they made a printing error, and those things are astronomically valuable to collectors. And just look at this one. This is a really well-made knife. It's got mocha-made bolster, a real nice Damascus, and some ivory, I think, on the scale. This I made a video about the Moby. It's supposed to look like a whale, and I thought that was sort of a unique interpretation for a knife. This one's showing some Macedon ivory, and it's just really nice, sort of artistic looking knife. And fine turnage was there. They had a whole bunch of handle material. This is just a quick shot of what they had. This is a somewhat rare item, a Latama pistol switchblade. It opens by the trigger, and I made a video about that, so if you want to get a little bit more look at that. There was several tables of case knives, and just all kind of collectible, very valuable old case knives. And I thought these were kind of neat. Here's some daggers. The one on the bottom is clearly a lockback. You can see the two tails of the lock bars, and both blades come out the sort of dagger pointed. The one on the top has dual swing guards, and it's got a really nice stag handle. And just another shot. This is kind of interesting. It's a cross, and it turns out that it's a switchblade. It's a through pin that is for a OTF single action, not dual action, because you can see up top here the little round cocking lever. So it's just sort of a fun piece, and I'm going to come out with a video about that a little bit more. This I had to talk about is a Microtech SOCOM, and you can see right there SOCOM, and I had not really looked at these before. They are dual action. They will open automatic with a push button, or they open manually, and they're kind of rare. This particular model I don't believe they make anymore, and that was owned by this gentleman who had a whole array of switchblades. Really nice stuff, more toward the modern side. There's a couple guys there who deal in antique switchblades. They won't collect anything later than the 1950s. All their switchblades are before the switchblade ban, but here's some very nice models, but they're a little more modern. And here is a dagger with a bunch of jewels, push dagger. And here's a Skinner. It looks like another sort of Skinner. And let's see what we got here. Yeah, there was a lot of knives from Italy, from Maniago collectors, and here was a unique lockback that opened by pushing this tailpiece down. I think you could probably open it with one hand because of that. Well, at least you could unlock it with one hand. I don't know if that'd be very practical, but I thought that was kind of neat. Made a video about that. And the same guy had this sub-hilt brass, kind of a neat knife. And I talked to this guy about his knives, and I kind of got into the subject I wanted to address about this raised false edge. So this guy's a farrier, and he's also a knife maker. And I thought this is a neat little pocket carry knife, this Schrade. It sort of looks like a kiss knife. Difference is that it's got this sort of guard on it that covers up the sharp part of the blade edge. And this is what it partially opened and almost opened and a little more opened. Well, that's fully opened. This at the top, it has a sort of a spring clip on it, make it good for a keychain, I imagine. Nice little knife. And this is one sort of a rare German pattern switchblade that has a corkscrew. And that's the German pattern automatics. And here's a out the front single action again. And this is a nice example of the brain coral handle. Nickel silver bolster, a neat little knife. And this is a nasty looking axe. The handle is about 2 feet long. It's a very long handle, so you can see it's not made for chopping wood. It looks like a vicious dog with a muzzle on it. So I just grabbed a quick picture of that. And speaking of weird axes, there's some sort of thing, looks like it's from the South Pacific, some sort of hatchet looking thing with a big hook on the end, and right above it's a kukri. So there's this odd bunch of weapons hanging out there. Now, I was very much intrigued by this knife when I saw it. Immediately I think, I mean, what would you think? What kind of knife is it? What's the mechanism? It's a friction folder, right? I mean, come on, you're showing me a friction folder. This long tail there. The back's sort of got this funny looking raised triangle out there with a hole in it. Like it's almost like a lockback, but you could kind of see the back of it. It's not a lockback, so it must be a friction folder. And here it's opened, and that long tail gets put into the handle, just like any friction folder. It's a nice looking one. Probably you'd think it's from England to get around the knife laws they have there against locking mechanisms. But oddly enough, the thing's a liner lock. Now, I don't know why they going to make this thing into a liner lock looking like a friction folder. I got no idea. But Yeah, there it is. It's that long tail on there. Almost looks, well, it looks more like, other than a classic friction folder with without a point on the blade, it looks just like a razor. So I imagine that's the intent. It's probably supposed to be something to shave with. But anyway, kind of a nice looking knife. I just wanted to look at this curious obsidian blade. The thing about this stone is you can actually see light through it. So I'm going to show this twice. Very interesting. Obsidian blade. And here is a push button automatic. Here it comes. Boop, click. It's open, and then it's going to close, and oh, it opens manual also. It is a dual action, and it's made by Marfione. It's called the Select Fire, and if I'm on anybody's Christmas list, I'd like to have this because it's $2,200. Pretty sweet. And guys are just having fun trading and doing some knife talk. So that's a quick little video. A couple knives I didn't get a chance to make a full video on. Some of them I did. Hope you guys can make it to the Gator Show next year. Thanks.